Everyone, I hope you all are doing well and all of you are safe and healthy. This is Radhika here again, and this video is going to be about why are narcissists many times also sadistic. Why do they exhibit sadism and different types of sadism? So, if you have experienced being with a narcissistic person, you will realize that one of their core qualities or core feelings that they have is they derive some sort of a pleasure when others are in pain, right? So, this is called as sadism. And sadism can exist from a very small scale to a very big scale, right? So this larger scale of sadism is easy to see in the world if you look at the political scenario right now and the things that are happening in many countries. You can see that people are actually exhibiting their sadism on social platforms, and people are like talking about it and putting it out on display, right? So this is like really big sort of sadism where you are impacting thousands of lives, and you are putting so much of pain into other people's life. It can also be very very subtle, where it's not as big, you're not actually hurting anyone physically, maybe not even mentally, but what happens is you just look at suffering and you enjoy it. A part of your psyche actually enjoys suffering. So now this is the very subtle part of sadism which I want to also discuss, because um like if you understand sadism, what you will understand is inflicting pain and receiving pleasure in pain, because they are so interconnected. Sadism, a person who's sadistic also in a way enjoys pain themselves. So if they inflict pain at some point in their life, they had to learn to enjoy the pain that was inflicted, and then they became the perpetrator. That is, they spread the pain that they once had to endure, or had to, like, after a point enjoy, because it became like a trauma bond probably for them, right? So the subtle sadism where you see pain and you are not causing it, you are just enjoying it, enjoying seeing someone else in pain, in a way that is an indication that the person who is doing this enjoys pain themselves. So they see it in someone else and they enjoy it without inflicting it. So this usually is like a people pleaser or an avoidant personality person who enjoys such sort of sadism, which is a very subtle form. They are not the perpetrator of the violence, they are not the perpetrator of the sadism, but if they see it, they enjoy it. And that is a large part of the population right now who are in a people pleasing mode, or who are in a mode where they don't have a voice, they can't speak up. So they see these images and they're like, oh my god, but at a certain level they cannot move beyond it. So they learn to take it, they learn that okay, this is life and we have to endure it. And when you are in that trauma bond, you at some point flip over and you start enjoying it as well. So you become totally okay with that level of sadism, and you learn to detach yourself from it and say, at least I'm not the one causing it, or at least they are not doing so and so, so this much is okay. So you kind of learn to justify the sadism. So this is basically sadism on a spectrum. There are people who are actually spreading it, and then there are people who are consuming it and they don't say anything around it. Then there is another spectrum where you see the sadism and you want to stop it because you realize it's not good. And these are the people who are speaking up against it. These are the people who have integrated the sadism within themselves, and they are not okay with it anymore because they understand it as a part of the psyche. So when you're defending yourself, you do have to kill people sometimes, right? Because that is defense. But that is not sadistic, because it's for defense, it's not for enjoyment. So that is the key difference between people who have integrated the warrior mentality, who understand that to survive, there is a survival of the fittest, and you have to be fit to survive. And sometimes in warfare, you have to, unalive the other person, but there is no sort of an enjoyment in it. It's out of the dharam of the person as a warrior that he or she has to do it, right? In fact, there is also a little bit of regret, maybe, that I had to do this, you know. So that is a different type of integration. So it is sadistic, but it is an integrated level of sadism which is not harmful to the world. So in sadism, one can wonder, like, why narcissists enjoy sadism. So I have another video like this which kind of explains this in some detail. But one of the reasons they enjoy it is because in their childhood they were conditioned to be around other sadistic people who enjoyed, like, everyone is not unaliving people, but in a very normal level context, they were around people who enjoyed, like, maybe mocking others or making others feel less. And and that in turn brought them like a feeling of joy, right? So as a child, if you are around a family which always kind of jibes over a community, and whenever they jibe that community, whenever they mock that community or make that community feel less, and you see the grown-ups around you feeling really happy, by conditioning, what you learn is that this is what gives me happiness, right? So for example, if you are in a non-toxic environment like this, right, and you have a very balanced parent, and maybe on the weekends they take you to a hike, right? They take you to a hike. After the hike, you have a nice lunch, maybe at a nice scenic point on the hike, and you're feeling at peace. You're not jibing anyone, you're not making anyone feel bad about themselves. You are just one with the flow of nature and you're enjoying life. Now, that child will learn to relate this as happiness. Like, I work for the week, I live a balanced life. On the weekend, I go for a nice hike, I eat good food, and I feel happy with life. That is what that child is going to learn. But a child who has grown up around a group or a cult like environment where they are always putting another community down, another religion down, another nationality down, another gender down, like if it's a kid that has grown up in an environment of feminists who are toxic feminists who are always putting men down, so they will think whenever I put a man down and I laugh on a man, that is happiness. So this is how conditioning works. So the child that has grown up around sadistic people is more likely to be sadistic when they grow up. um, and then the other reason for becoming sadistic is, as I said, like the subtle form of sadism where you yourself are not the perpetrator, you yourself are not mocking others, but if you don't mock others, you get mocked, right? So say it's an environment where a child, if they're not tough enough, they get mocked, right? Now, if they find someone else joining the group who's even gentler than him or her, and then that new person becomes the target, so this person is going to feel good that, oh, I'm not the target anymore. So now this person is being targeted, and now I can just go into my, spineless sadism of feeling good that, oh, at least I'm saved. I'm saved from this, and this person is getting mocked at or laughed at. So basically, that person is not the perpetrator, but they are in a way participating in the sadism as well. And we have many such people in the world who don't do anything or don't say anything, they just go along with it. And these are the people whom we call as the avoidant personality. And I will discuss this subtypes of sadism now. So these are the avoidant personalities. So let's start with this subtype of sadism. This is called a spineless sadism. So in spineless sadism, as the name suggests, the person is like a little bit spineless. They don't know how to stand up for what is right, what is wrong. So they might not be the perpetrator of the sadism, but they just sit back, look at it, and they learn to turn a blind eye to the sadism that they are seeing. So we also call such people as enablers in narcissistic environments. And you will often see that one of the parent is an enabler who lets the sadism happen in the family, and the other person is usually the next type of sadist. So this is called as a tyrannical sadist. So a tyrannical sadist is one who actually imposes their tyranny over people. So they will ask people to behave how they want them to behave. They will ask people to do what they want them to do. Basically, they want to rule over other people. Just ruling over your body, your mind is not enough for them, because basically they cannot. They don't have any control of their body and their mind, and they can't make peace with it. So they think, if I control someone else, right, I will feel powerful. So they want to control, like, either one person in the family, or like a group of people, like a cult, or they want to control an army, or they want to control a nation or a corporation, etc. Right? So in a way, they want to play god, and they want to, through their tyrannical rule, they want to make people do what they want the people to do. There's no freedom in such an environment. So the spineless sadistic person and a tyrannical sadistic person can often be in a relationship, because they are two sides of a coin. They both enjoy sadism in different ways. And then the third one is another type of a partner that can have like a spineless sadistic person as a partner. So the next sadism is called enforcing sadism. So this is more like a compulsive sort of a sadism. It's not really, so this one, it kind of goes into a gray zone, because this can be a sadistic person who is entrapped by their own trauma, right? So they don't want to be sadistic, but they are, because they might have some compulsive kind of disorders due to which they are sadistic. So for example, it could be like a someone like a perfectionist, and they know in their heart and their brain that something is wrong with me, so they let other people speak up. So maybe the spineless sadistic person who's their partner sometimes does tell them that, you're too perfectionist, and it's making it hard for me to, like, live in such an environment. So an enforcing sadistic person might think to themselves that maybe I am a bit perfectionist, but then a part of them can't let go of the perfectionism, because they want to control things to such a great degree, because they feel safe in controlling everything around them, right? So it's not with a point of view to rule over someone, it's with a point of view to feel safe, right? So it is a little bit different kind of a sadism. So this could be like a very very strict parent who doesn't allow their kids to go to night outs, right? So if you look at it in one way, you will feel okay, this is not like so bad, they are looking out for the safety of their child. But then, of course, if the child really wants to go out and spend a night at a friend's house, and they are stopped from doing that, from the child's perspective, it is a little bit sadistic when his other friends or her other friends can go and spend a night at someone else's place and they are not allowed to. They do feel their freedom being curbed, but the parent might say it's for your safety that I'm saying so, right? So, this sort of a sadism, which is a little bit on the borderline, um, because you can kind of explain it in a way, and it's not to derive enjoyment, but to the person to whom this is being applied, they can feel that this is a bit too much. You don't have to be this safe in life. um, and then the next part is explosive sadism. So, this explosive sadism is many times exhibited by women, but also can be in men. This is the closest to a borderline personality disorder. And what it means is basically, in your anger, in your rage, in your fury, because, like, maybe a trigger point has been touched for you, you become very sadistic. You might say really bad things to your, to your close ones, to your near ones, to your dear ones. You might react in a way which is over the top, right? And you might react in a way which is very cruel to people who are around you, right? And it's your reaction, so it's not like an intentional sort of sadism, but in your rage you become extremely reactive and you become extremely sadistic. So you might completely bring the other person down, expose all their weaknesses, become extremely personal with them, try to break them apart psychologically, even like physically, right? So many people might say, in the political scenario of what is happening right now, what we see is explosive sadism, where people who have had to go through a lot of trauma are now suddenly reacting with their explosive rage, and they are unaliving people and behaving in extremely cruel ways. So that, of course, completely is determined by the person who is exhibiting the sadism. Either it is tyrannical, or it is explosive, or it is enforcing. You will have to realize in yourself what kind of a sadism you are exhibiting. Because to a certain degree, we all have certain sadistic traits. We all have, in our rage and our anger, sometimes hurt someone we love by saying something bad. Many people sometimes, when they get into an explosive rage, they might slap people around them, they might hit them, punch them, etc. So, such physical violence can also manifest in sadism, because what happens is you want to hurt the other person in some way, and hurting the other person in some way relieves you of some of your tension, etc., right? But when you do it a lot, you start gaining a sort of a pleasure from it, right? So that is why we want to kind of avoid this as much as possible in every way in our life. So, energetically, what is sadism? So, energetically, sadism is a very big sign that you are separate from the source that has created you. So, let me explain this. So, in sadism, the principle of sadism is that by by seeing or observing suffering in others, I feel pleasure, right? So, even in the definition of sadism, there is a separation. There is an object and there is a subject, right? So, I see suffering somewhere and I feel good about it. Now, or I see suffering somewhere and I feel okay with it, right? So that is the most subtlest form of sadism, which is spineless sadism. So now, even in the definition itself, there is a separation, right? But spiritually, when you learn spirituality and when you understand what a lot of religions are trying to tell you in different ways, is that everything comes from one source and goes back to that one source, right? But in the time being that we are not in the one source, we are manifested as different forms, right? Like my form is Radhika, your form is your name. But ultimately, we all come from that one source and we are going back to it. So now, what happens is the people who have forgotten this completely, they are the ones who will fall in this bucket of being sadistic or masochistic, or who enjoy their own pleasure or who enjoy inflicting pain, right? Because there is a separation there. But when you are identified with the source, it is you who suffers the pain and it is you who experiences the pleasure. So it really doesn't matter to you if you inflict the pain or if you are the one on whom pain is being inflicted. You are just seeing it as a happening, right? So that is why people who are into sadism or who are into masochism, what has happened to them is they are so much in their trauma, right, that they have separated from this feeling of oneness, and they enjoy the other senses as something, the other sensations as something other than themselves, right? But people who are connected with the source, when they see someone suffering, they feel the suffering. When they see someone happy, they feel the happiness, right? They are witness to the suffering, they are witness to the happiness, they are witness to everything happening around them, right? Without needing anything for themselves. They don't feel I need to inflict pain to feel happy, or I don't need to take pain to feel happy, right? So they are neutral in their own being, but they are witnessing this happen in other people. And then, based on their vivek, based on their discretion, they take the steps that they need to take. So if your vivek says I should speak up against this, you will speak up against it. But if your vivek says that I don't want to speak up against it, you won't speak up against it. But it's not spineless sadism in that case, because you have made a conscious choice not to speak up. It's not out of a fear that if I speak up, then I will become the target, etc., etc. So the decision never comes out of fear of something. The decision comes out of a clarity that this is what I want to do, right? So, energetically, the people who are experiencing sadism, bouts of sadism, they want to unalive other people, they want to put them in bad positions, they want to film them, they want to make a show out of them, etc. Such people are completely separated from their source, no matter what their religion, no matter what their nationality, no matter what their gender, all of this doesn't matter. What energetically is happening is they are completely separated from their source and they are in their trauma mind. And when they are in their trauma mind, they either can fix it by observing and sitting with it and doing, using different tools, or they can simply spread it around. And usually they will spread it around to people who will then carry this trauma inside themselves till they spread it or they fix it, right? And this is how the cycle of trauma continues, whether it is in a narcissistic family, or it is in a community, or it is in a cult, or it is in the world. You will just see this pattern repeating from a smaller scale to a larger scale in the world. And Yeah, so that is what is basically some insights about sadism, and we are seeing this more and more now in the world, out in the open. So I just thought this might make a good video, and I hope this gives you some insight and some distance to look at sadism and masochism and um, all these other extremities that we see in the world. So I hope this helped you in some way. And as always, I wish you all a lot of love and a lot of light. Thank you. Bye.